Food Chain Magnate, brought to us by Splotter Splendid, is a 2 to 5 player game about building a fast food chain where you strategically hire employees to outcompete rivals. It is a big board game, and there's heavy strategy involved. At $130 on Amazon right now, the question is this game worth it? In this board game, you are an entrepreneur. You are the CEO, trying your odds at a food chain, but others have the same idea. You all want to be the richest, but it looks like you'll have to fight for it. The major components of the game is the structure of employees. The board game is based around this employee map. During the recruiting phase, you will hire workers, beginning with hiring one worker as the CEO. Here you can hire a litany of different people, all with an assortment of different roles. And slowly but surely you will build up your management and build up your structure until you have a small pyramid that has become a massive web of choices and a latest work of jobs. Do you want to get more waitresses so you can get free money each turn because you steal that tip? Or do you want to start getting errand boys so you can start making drinks? Or do you want to lower prices for your goods so that you can outcompete your rivals? Or instead you want to raise prices if you're holding on to a monopoly in order to make more money that turn? There's also many other cards that I didn't talk about, but that is just some of it. The other major component of the game are milestones. These are achievements you get for being the first restaurant to achieve a goal, and you got special bonuses as a result. These also add to the complexity of the game and create more competition and choice between the decision you make versus the decision your friend makes. The other component of the game is what you do on this physical map. This represents the poor town that you and your friends are trying to squeeze every penny out of. And these poor townspeople are faced with these budding food chains where they have to choose who to buy from. So an important aspect as you're thinking about the map is where you place your restaurant. The location of your restaurant is important because you want to place it close to homes, close to roads, so that it's accessible by the diners, as well as close to the drinking sources where you are able to get your drinks to sell to the diners. Now, you ask, how do you make money? An important question, of course. And the answer is that there's a combination of different factors that influences the choice that the diners make. First is, do they have a demand for the food? This is garnered through marketing to them, and you need a marketeer in your last work to market the food or the drink that you want to them. Then they will look for restaurants that are providing this food. So if you're marketing pizza, you will want to produce pizza. And if you're the only restaurant that's made this food, they'll obviously go to your restaurant. However, if there's multiple competitors they can choose from, and your friends are also trying to get into for example, the pizza market, then they will look at prices, the distance from their homes, as well as the number of waitresses to determine where they go. But in the end, the diners go to a restaurant, they pay you, and you make money. This board game has quite a lot to say about economics, and many of the lessons stem from the demand component of the game. The first of which being location. Location determines whether the diners will go to your food chain or another food chain if both of you are providing the same food or the same drinks. And if you're closer, then they are more likely to choose you, which is how it works in real life. Location determines the demand, the revenue you garner, which I think it's interesting how this game also factors that in. Additionally, this game also has a bit about supply and demand. For example, you want to lower your prices to your competitors so the diners choose your company. But of course, it's not completely accurate, but I still think that it does a good job of tying in lessons from the real world to make this game more, I guess, educative, but also still extremely fun. And this game also teaches scarcity. You want to produce the food that the others aren't producing and the drinks that the others are not making, which allows you to control the market so all the diners will flock to your restaurant. So this involves good strategic thinking, maybe quick shifts in what you are producing to take advantage of the empty space. The next thing is marketing. This determines what the diners will buy, and it's becoming an ever more important aspect of today. The market for advertising is just increasing in this era where information is so persuasive. And I think the way the game approaches marketing is really funny and interesting. It says that people are extremely flippant, controlled by the marketers. For example, whatever you market, they will want to buy, which I think does have some truth in the real world as people are becoming ever the more controlled by the media or what they see online. Another aspect that's not related to demand is just management. This game teaches how important people are in your business, as the whole game is centered around your company structure with you as a CEO on top, gradually expanding your corporate structure. And this all teaches you that what you what workers you hire and the diversity or the lack of it all determine how successful your company is. Now, there's an overarching theme that I found uncovered by this game, and it's a satirical and sarcastic critique of the vicious competition in business and capitalism and neoliberalism. For example, it feels almost like you're in organized crime when you're participating in this food chain competition. You don't pay your workers, or the majority of them, and you take your waitresses' tips instead of them getting the tips. And I think that this is an interesting critique about capitalism. And it also is somewhat laughing at the consumers. It shows how flippant and easy to change their opinions they are, which is another interesting aspect of capitalism and neoliberalism. And it also demonstrates how much power these corporations have. Whatever you market, whatever you hire is a huge influencing factor on this small town. That's it for today. Sorry it was a bit long, but I just found there was a lot to learn about this economic side of the board game. Now for the review portion of this video. I think this game can be summed up by one word: thematic. There's many different aspects that make you really feel like you're a CEO of a food chain that is trying to compete with your rivals. The first of which being that there's very little luck involved in this game. There's zero dice, zero drawing of the cards, etc. This works really well with the theme because it feels like you're completely in charge, you're the CEO, you're the boss. Despite that, Splatter still does a great job of making each game vary a lot because the map changes each round, which determines where and how you set up shop, and the different strategies you and other people take. There's a litany of different types of workers that you can hire and different strategies you can take, which makes every game very different. It's kind of like chess. There's no luck involved, but each game is still dramatically different because of the numerous amount of decisions you and your opponents will make. Second is that the demand is really logical. Like what was mentioned in the education portion of the video, it's very economic-y, which makes it feel more like you are a CEO of a real company. Every individual is a rational decision maker and they're trying to maximize their utility by looking for the closest as well as the cheapest restaurant to go to. You market, which creates the demand, and if they have the demand, they go to a restaurant or whatever restaurant provides the food for the cheapest and the closest. Third is milestones. They just feel so gratifying, like you are an actual startup that are reaching these goals, and when you reach them, you feel like you actually completed a milestone. But it also has a lasting effect on the game and the strategy you take, which also adds to the difference within each game and the varying strategies you have to take based on the milestones your opponents lunge for and the ones that you have gotten. However, like free market economics and capitalism. The theme of this board game also comes with it some problems. The first of which being that there's very binary and ruthless results. For example, if Timmy here advertised some pizza and some burgers, and he also made some pizzas and burgers, and he's very ready for his diners to go to his restaurant. But I come along, I also make some pizza and burgers, and I jack down the prices. Then the diners will only come to my restaurant, and Timmy here, he did the marketing, he made the food, but he's just left out. For some, they're just laugh it off, and it just makes the game better. But for others, for people like Timmy, they will feel, they will ask, when is this game gonna end? I think this is an interesting aspect that makes the game more thematic, but also less fun for certain people. On top of that, there's a very high learning curve. This game is very fun and exciting with last minute decisions and last minute people coming out on top. But that just doesn't work out when there's a big skill gap, when there's someone that's been playing for a long time and someone that just started, because it still requires you to have a good grasp of the game in order for you to do successfully. So all in all, I think that this game is awesome. It's great to play with people that are willing to sit down for a while and to experience and learn about the strategic decisions you have to make in order for the game to become even more exciting. But for some individuals, it just isn't fit.